there are several donors, but one of the projects that we funded was this project with Aranyak. So I think what the community did there were several interventions. There was a restoration plot, and there was also like these fire lines that they created. But something that really stood out for me was this nursery, this community nursery that they kind of worked with. The plot of land was donated by somebody in the village. The people came together, and these are people who, I think most of them are women, and they work in the tea gardens nearby. But they, on a rotation basis, like they work in the nursery, they come, they devote their time, and it's just how that entire thing, and you know, honestly, 2 years is actually a very less time to see an impact, but kind of this shows you that something can happen, right? And I think Aranyak has also done a great job, like small things which taking them to these exposure trips where they could actually go and see what can be done, what a nursery can be, right? Like it just doesn't have to be a small community nursery, what it can grow into, what the future can look like. Then they've opened like the small library because these women and the children can come and stay there. The time that the women are working, the children can be engaged. So small initiatives, but how it kind of comes together and builds up. And like, I've seen the nursery 1.5 years back and I see it today, the amount of change and the progress it has made in that one. And all like driven by the community, decisions taken in consultation with the community saying, look, we want to do this, we think this will be a good idea, you know, and then going ahead and supporting it. I think that is one that was really like stands out for me right at this moment.
And this is very much like, in some way, it's again another ground-up approach.
Yes.
Right? And I think that's what you're also highlighting in that way. Shibani, would you have anything to share on this?
Yeah. So thanks, Sounika, Siddharth. For me, I mean, there are a couple of things that stand out. One, I mean, if you were to give a tangible example, this project we've supported called the... You've already taken that one, and I think your pie is way bigger, so I'll leave you with that story. But ERA, yes, we are very, very honored and happy to be a part of it in a very small way as of now, but we hope to be able to build on it. We are having some conversations and definitely would like to build on it in tangible ways. Also because of the absolutely, imperative that it is to actually restore our wildlands and our ecosystems. A story that really stood out for me in the partnerships that we have been able to evolve in the Himalayas is there's this place called Go Book. It came up as a responsible tourism site that we supported through the Green Hub Royal Enfield Responsible Tourism Project that we initiated 3 years ago. And through the mentorship and the communities, we also, another one of our partners, Titli Trust with Sanjay Sondhi, and the local community NGO, Epam Siram, all got together and really, in many ways, the work that we are being able to support is interdisciplinary and multi-stakeholder. And the principle of it is collaboration for nature. And I think that is what is making it really, really scalable, because it is location-based. It is, as I said, the future is secure because it is embedded in the people there and the youth there. And here, what was beautiful was the seamless kind of collaboration between Sanjay and his team and his work in developing the biodiversity trails. And now we have almost 30 to 40 visitors coming from across India for birding and butterflying. They discovered, in the last 2 years, they've discovered 23 new moth species, or it's been identified and vetted by there is a peer-reviewed journal, Lepidoptera, something, I'm sorry, I haven't got the word right. And of course, there is this aspect of the Green School, which the young fellows from the Green Hub Responsible Tourism Fellowship, they've gone ahead and worked with the children because they found there was a little bit of this butterfly wing tearing and a little bit of slingshots of birds and all of that was just happening. So they started working with the school children after class, and we supported them with binoculars and all the rest of the stuff. So now the Green School idea has taken off and is being cross-populated again across different sites. by Sanjay in Meghalaya, by other fellows in Dehing Patkai. So you know the kind of sharing of knowledge, sharing of ideas, and really rooting it within the community. And this year it was really great because at the biodiversity meet, not only did we have visitors from all over, and also the livelihood of that village has gone up because of this. So from the biodiversity meet and the projects that we were able to initiate, they were able to earn about 10 lakhs in the year, which is for families, and it's all very aggregated. It's not one family doing it. And the women and the mothers are the ones who are taking forward the green school idea now, because it's not like the fellows can be there forever. So it's the moms. So there was a big consultation with all the people, the Green Hub people, Rita, Sanjay, everyone sat with it, Nandini from Canopy Collective. Everybody sat down and they felt that, okay, who are the people who are here? And it was the mothers. So the Super Meme program has got started, and they have created their own trail, which is beautiful because it's around nature, but it's also around cuisine, it's around seed jewelry, it's weaving with leaves. So there's a lot of tactile, amazing kind of ground level experiences that visitors can share. So yeah, so that's, I'll stop there, it goes on. And one last aspect, one of our partners who deals with solid waste management, Further and Beyond Foundation, they are the next people because there is a lot of litter, because people use a lot of single-use plastic. So we've also integrated that into the system. So it is really interdisciplinary and multi-stakeholder. Yeah.
So, you know, that question itself I have not a problem with, but I think that this
it's okay.
one project that, so what I'm saying is, like, there are wonderful, like because they're broadly amazing organizations, and a lot of people, I would say the majority of organizations are doing amazing work. For whatever, you know, mess people might have, not have, whatever, I think most people are doing really pushing the boundaries and really at the onslaught of what is happening to the natural world and to communities and to all this. I think people are really putting their heart and soul into it. Most people are doing that. So it's hard to pick out an example or two because there are multitude of it. So what I think is more important is, are we able to actually look at this in its entirety, and is it being a bit more collaborative? Is there more resources coming to the space? Are we seeing that jointly growing together? I think that is the focus that we have to have, because the projects you support, or that you support, that we support, or we all jointly support, are all going to be brilliant, and one can't literally, I wouldn't want to get into that space. But actually what might be interesting is to say that, okay, looking at these things of where waste disposal and conservation, or development folk and restoration folk, those kind of things, and just looking at that over time, because how do we actually enable people who know what they're doing, or at least we trust that they know what they're doing, are enabled to do what they do, and the less that we dictate or try and, it's lovely to see that it's going well, but how do we start actually handing over that to the conservation community or the restoration community, and how does that responsibility for the common good go back to people who are doing that work? And it should not be the funders. I mean, that's the way I look at it. It's a little bit utopian in a way, but I think that is the push we need to have. Otherwise, there's a fear of a lot of money dictating, and then it again becoming more competitive as opposed to more, how do you solve the commons problem, as it were?
Yeah, so Siddharth, to respond, Sounika, if I may. Yeah. So to respond to what you're saying, Siddharth, very, very true. And I think that idea of collaboration, I mean, all of this actually emerged organically. None of it was directed, it's just wonderful stories and reports that you get. So it's not something we are directing really, it's something you seed, thinking maybe because travel is increasing, because it can get untenable, it gets exploitative very often. So would it be an important area to work in, especially for the youth to understand what to do? So that, having said that, the other aspect which you said is what can we do to take the work of the restoration community or the scientific community to the people. I think that's a really important aspect also, is how do we make the synergy between science and community knowledge and their ability to practice science, because again, they are the ones embedded wherever across the regions. One has been hearing so many community members speak and practitioners speak. And everywhere, even when Divya and Sridhar shared about Vallabharai, a lot of it is also based on what the school children or the youth will imbibe and take forward. So in whatever we do, if that synergy between science, like high-level science, can be brought down to granular level practice at an evidence-based and science-based level, and I think today's sessions on tools and digital mapping and all of that are very important, what is happening. So we feel that is a very important thing we need to discuss, as you mentioned, Siddharth. And the other thing is the collaborative kind of platforms, where it doesn't necessarily matter beyond a point where the money is coming from, as long as it's aligned people thinking together. And some of it we have already been able to seed through the conservation grants that again is in partnership with Royal Enfield and Green Hub. But it started as a small kind of an effort to stabilize the alumni who are doing great work. So 3 years ago when it started, we were trying to support the youth to take forward the work. But in the years that followed till now, it has expanded also to Western Himalayas and is open to youth and practitioners across environment and restoration practitioners across the Himalayan region. And other collaborators are coming on board. So, you know, you have Eicher, you have Round Glass Sustain, you have Habitats Trust, because the platform has got initiated and all people who are thinking alike are coming and, you know, multiplying that. And that's what Siddharth and I were also having a discussion, that how do we scale that? How can we bring that up so that more, and then make it more open where people can access support, and because otherwise for CSR, and I'm not sure, Siddharth, if that applies to you and to you, Sounika, we can support organizations that are registered, that have their 12A, their ATG. There is a whole diligence process that has to happen. So while one wants to directly reach communities, there has to be, and also you need the partners to be able to also help create the bridge, because otherwise individual people, you can't really scale it. So yeah, so I'll stop there, but to respond to Siddharth's point, both collaboration and crossing of the boundaries of science and community knowledge and practice is something definitely I see is very important that we would want to support to enable restoration and conservation.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly add to that. I think for me, all that I've been following a little bit of what you have been doing and what Rainmatter has been doing. I think another thing that I've observed is if we can kind of, because we as donors or the organizations who are implementing the projects, taking it to the community, if we can build the level and the capacity of the community, like we can build the capacity of the community to a level where they can carry it forward. It might take time, it might take a few years to do that, but if that point is reached where you can hand over the project, you know, you're hand-holding them throughout the process, but also if you can hand over the project and kind of have that faith where you can just be there as on an advisory role, but they're doing everything. I think that is something I would like to see all the projects reach. So that has...
Yeah, ideally, yes, and I think all of us would like that. I think everybody who works in this space comes in with that intention, and honestly, we shouldn't be funding. I think there shouldn't be any NGOs in an ideal situation. So we can go to that extent, because we're doing work that should anyway be done, or dealing with problems that shouldn't exist largely. So as long as those drivers of why we're in such a mess exist, and at the scale at which they exist, we are going to struggle with this. And somehow I find it very difficult to buy that argument easily. I think there are some principles that people should adhere to and follow, which is look at how do you exit out of a place, or how do you not be a gatekeeper. And I think that's a good reminder for all of us, whether it's a funder or somebody on the ground, and how do you actually have a bottom-up approach. But to kind of design it into a project is where it gets complicated, tricky, and kind of a little bit unfair. And there are many dynamics that people are dealing with in terms of embedded dynamics in social dynamics, but also the onslaught from outside, and it's a complex issue that people are navigating. So in a way, I would actually go with what the communities say, saying that we don't want these people here, or those people who are there to say that, you know what, we don't want to do this. So how does a funding agency, or how do people who are putting resources, again, have these conversations, of those kind of decisions get taken, but or that be informed from bottom up? Because you hear a lot of this exit strategy, and I constantly fighting against that internally. I get it conceptually, and I'm fully on board that, but I think everyone does get it as a concept. There are a few people who might hang on to power, as it were, or certain things, but that's changing, I think. And that's changing in the space, and that's a great thing. So it's otherwise we're just jumping from one new shiny thing to the next, right? It's like this landscape and that landscape. And when you talk of restoration, then it's such a long, hard process. And we don't invest in people. Our salaries that we give out are low. The space is underfunded. So there's a multitude of issues, and then to come out with, like, you know, cutting off one more leg from under people, saying that, hey, you have to be out of here in 3 years, is, I don't know. I'm not like, I don't know how to say it. I think it's because this is a constant thing that we have internally.
No, I don't think I meant that. I meant it that, that's why I said it could take time. But I think at some point of time, if we are able to, it's an ideal concept, of course. But then if we are able to do it, where we can hand it over and the people can take over it and run it, I think that's a very, again, a very, like, an ideal situation to be in.
Designed in that form.
Yes.
I would think that those principles are what we need to commonly agree on, and we can continuously talk about it, and partners need to talk about it. I think sometimes we forget some, like, on the other side, when you're doing conservation or development, maybe we forget some of these principles, or they don't come up often, and that leads to that. Discussions around those principles and bringing that up is important, not a sword hanging over someone's head, which is what it is now largely. Which is that, hey, yeah, we support you for 3 years and then we don't want. That is not a good thing. I think, as long as, I don't know, because and unless things have an enterprise link to it, a lot of this work is really hard to even be sustainable in that sense. I've seen women's cooperatives which end up making enough revenue to then actually have the NGO, the organization, only as an enabler, catalyst to help with certain parts of training, and they are able to fund their own staff, office, vehicles, all this stuff, and they don't need the NGO that helped them raise the money. But very few other things have that end of life, because the problems, and we're in survival mode when you're fighting this stuff, right? And the problems are not getting any better largely, they're getting worse. So it's a tough one. I would usually stick my neck out and say, like, listen, let's not even, I will fight that on some side on the back end of with the funders side.
I think Shibani also had something to add.
Yeah, I just had so definitely having a strategy, I mean, it's kind of jargon to say exit strategy, but there is a kind of cycle that you end one phase and another, so that's one. But Arjun, you had said we can open it up to the other, so I wanted to also just, and Siddharth, to your point, where I completely agree that, you know, that you say 3 years we support and then we move out, but there are also innovative ways to actually look at these partnerships, you know, where of course there is a NGO partner and all the, you know, framework that goes with it. But when we are looking at communities as a very, very significant stakeholder in the work that we are doing, especially when it comes around to restoration, so where I was saying the thinking of the future with youth leadership intrinsic to it, there's also wonderful stories. I think here we have, if I may, Arjun, we have Holiram ji here, who has, from the community, donated a piece of land for the youth, working with the Youth for Forest group from the Green Up Network. And what then, how that becomes sustainable, because it's a local person giving land for restoration. So I don't know if you would like to open it up and just hear a little bit of that example.
Yeah.
Actually, I wanted to listen to you people only. I didn't want to, you know, open up. Anyway, since you mentioned my name, and you know, when you restoring all these things, you know, it goes back to my childhood. You know, I remember when I passed through so many villages and all that, walking, you know, walking from one place to another. You know, whole day walking. going to my, my mother's ancestral place, it takes almost a day and all that. And, we used to listen to, songs of bird songs and all those, all those monkeys and all those things. But nowadays you don't find that. So after so many years, after you can say, I became an adult and so on and that, and I remember those things, and I just dream or imagine that, can there be that kind of land, that kind of environment again? So somehow or the other, I got a plot of land, 48 acres in Difu itself. And there are other areas also, which I own, my family owns that. There are other plantations and all that. But that particular area, I told my family that, I want that area to be just like that. No touch from human beings, no touch. If there are animals come, wild animals, okay, let them be, there will be plants and all that. But there should be no touch from, human beings. Then I came across the green hub, They said that, yes, that's a very good idea, but it's better that you remove the invasive plants. If you have a project like this, okay. So I talked to the Green Hub, they came, and I think they are there for the last 5 years or so now. And the projects are going on, and I believe that, we can restore the native plants, and where, those birds will come again, those plants will be there, the trees will be there, and the wild animals will be there. That's my dream. And Green Hubs, I think, and you people, I think, will be helping us. Anyway, thank you.